For a very long time now, America has refused to pay Black Americans, that's the Native Americans, reparations. And I don't know why people are beginning to make it a thing of worry. They're making it feel like, oh, these people don't deserve it. I was made to understand that some people have been paid. Why are they still withholding it from Americans? From Black Americans? Do they not deserve to be paid? And when a lot of people complain, like the videos I watched, some people are saying that the people who were actually who were the enslaved ones are no longer alive, and so for that they are not going to give these ones reparations. For me, it's very wrong. It's very wrong because these people are their descendants. You should pay them their reparation, or else. Don't worry, watch this video, and then when we're back, I'll tell you the repercussion and the consequences if the reparations are not paid. Americans, Black Americans, you see, the Foundation Americans, you see, are God's own people. They are chosen. And so these things, the more it lingers, the more issue the country is having. Just watch this video, Senor. I don't want to elaborate too much, and then we'll come back for the conclusion.
You were enslaved to give white people an eternal advantage over everyone else in the world, economically and politically, including you. With reparations, you're asking this white man to undo the unfair advantage he spent the last 500 years building for himself. And that's why I'm going to go back to my earlier point. I don't think we get reparations without war. People have went to war for less than what we are entitled to. And here's the big question you got to ask yourself. Because from a Garvey perspective, it's all about power. It ain't about equality. It ain't about justice. It ain't about Jesus. It ain't about voting. It ain't about being an American. It ain't about equity. You know what it's about? The power you have to force the white man to do what he don't want to do. And here's my question. What are Black people going to do if the white man gets on television right now and say, I'm not getting anything for reparations? We took a poll and most Americans don't feel it's necessary. Enjoy the rest of your week.
If Black people were enslaved for 246 years, there should immediately be an executive order for the next 246 years that Black people don't got to pay no taxes. There is a home ownership grant given, and education, higher education should be free for Black people, okay? This is the greatest, most fair plan to level the playing field, because the three ways that Black people were affected the most because of from slavery is in poverty, the wealth gaps. We literally gave free labor, ownership, home ownership, redlining, discrimination in the bank system, and education. Literally weren't allowed to go. So it makes all the sense to repair the harm that you caused. And I'm not talking about white people. I'm talking about America. The government, the law that allowed these things to happen. This is the perfect reparations plan.
I have some terrible news. The Oklahoma Supreme Court has ruled 8-1, affirming a lower court's ruling that the survivors of the Tulsa Race Massacre will get $0, that they do not qualify for any compensation whatsoever. We just surpassed the 103-year anniversary of that horrific act of terrorism. 2 Tulsa Race Massacre survivors are still alive and well, and this was the final opportunity to get any semblance of justice or accountability or reparations or restitution. And adding to this horrific injustice is the fact that Oklahoma City suffered a horrific act of terrorism in 1995, the Oklahoma City bombing. Some of you are old enough to remember it. I know I sure am. And the families of the Oklahoma City bombing got $50 million for being survivors of terrorism and mass violence. But the Tulsa Race Massacre survivors, who are all Black, who are victims of the similar type of white supremacist, racist violence and terrorism, get nothing. This is yet another reminder that the system is not broken. It is working exactly as it is intended, because a system cannot fail those it was never meant to protect in the first place.
Reparations is understood to be controversial, but we now know that reparatory compensation is in fact conventional. It happens every day. Linda, when you first approached me about doing this paper, I thought about the arguments I'd heard over the years in terms of reparations opposition. The first of which is that we can't do reparations because it is too expensive, a fiscal impossibility. Secondly, we can't do reparations because it is too difficult, too hard, administrative impossibility. And lastly, the most galling, the most disturbing is the notion we can't do reparations for Black Americans because the harm happened too long ago, what I call a temporal impossibility. And so our paper literally takes on this argument by looking at the vast array of programs that look like reparations and ways of helping people who have been harmed.
When we were uncovering program after program after program, some of the students found it quite painful. And they expressed the feeling that everyone else, except Black Americans, had their harms recognized and to some extent compensated.
When you see Christmas tree farmers being compensated for lost crops, when we see fishermen being compensated for economic losses, but when we see communities who've literally seen Black bodies swinging from trees, those harms not even being acknowledged.
I think one of the programs that was most interesting is the series of reparations programs that we have for Americans and also for Marshall Islanders who were harmed by the U.S. program to develop the nuclear bomb. But there are about 135,000 people and or their descendants, if they're gone, who have received some compensation due to this exposure and the illnesses caused.
This research is tremendously consequential because we as a country just celebrated D-Day. And we had more than 1 million Black vets during World War II who were discriminatorily denied the benefits of the GI Bill in terms of employment benefits, housing benefits, educational benefits.
You know, I wouldn't be sitting here today if my father, who was a World War II veteran, had not been able to take advantage of the GI Bill, which meant he got to come home, go to college, buy a home. He became part of the middle class, along with millions. And this was something that was denied to the vast majority of Black Americans. Well, the polls show that one of the main reasons that people don't support reparations is that they think it is too administratively difficult. They just doubted that the government could administratively handle it.
We've demonstrated the government is actually good at this, right? It's not a matter of it being impossible. We're actually practice, experience, and have some expertise. And then, fiscally speaking, if we're honest with ourselves, you demonstrated quite well in the audit of these federal programs that we spend millions, billions of dollars on a regular routine basis in terms of providing compensation to people who have been harmed through no fault of their own.
The thing that surprised me the most was the creativity that the government has in terms of how we pay for this wide range of reparatory compensation programs. I mean, who knew that all of these programs, coal miners, Black lung is paid for by excise taxes on coal, the range of pretty interesting financial mechanisms to pay for some of these programs is very interesting.
The impact of this research is it demonstrates that what we've assumed to be controversial and unusual is in fact quite conventional, regular and routine, and that which we are well able to do because we're doing it every day.
Repeat your name for us, and can you spell it for us because we know it's not the usual spelling?
Brooke, it's B-R-E-U-C-K. Thank you, and I'm from Brooklyn. I've said a lot at these hearings before, so a lot of things I don't feel like I need to say again. But I will say it is deeply flawed and deeply disingenuous to equate the plight of my enslaved ancestors to the experience of undocumented individuals and illegals seeking work at places like Home Depot. Let us be clear, these are fundamentally different narratives. Illegals make a choice to leave their homes, pay exorbitant sums to coyotes or plane tickets, some risking their lives to live across borders without invitation from this country. Contrast this with the history of foundational Black Americans. Our ancestors were here already. That genealogists just testified that we've been here on this land for 10,000 years. And our other ancestors were trafficked here against their will, Both were stripped of their humanity and forced into systems of slavery that were perpetuated by the United States government across generations. They had no choice. Their children and their children's children were born into chains and could not escape. Though we experienced a Holocaust unlike any other group in the world, we fought here. We persevered here. We forced our oppressors to make change. We are here today to force repair. This is a legacy of pain and resilience that cannot be trivialized or compared to voluntary illegal migration. How can the melanated diaspora, whose lineage does not go back to the 1870 census, look themselves in the mirror and justify benefiting from a system their ancestors did not build, while joining with white supremacy against us? How can one emulate colonizers exploiting the very people who fought for justice and equality? In New York, we have lived side by side for decades. We embraced you. We fought for you. When the immigration process excluded Black immigrants, we fought for you. And yet the question remains, who fights for Black Americans? You come from nations where leaders conspire with white supremacy to exploit their own people. And now, some among you replicate that same betrayal here, becoming the very sellout leadership you fled. We see you. How can you align with the colonizers, attempting to stop our birthright? Legacy organizations, you have yet to cross the finish line after all these years. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing repeatedly and expecting different results. It is time to stop the cycle of money wasting and ineffective strategies. This bill is unconstitutional. I have started an email writing campaign to reach out to each and every sponsor and co-sponsor to adapt a new bill that is lineage-based and constitutionally sound. We have told this commission, and now it's time to raise our voice. Please see it's bit.ly/reparationsnys to join the email writing letter campaign. And
thank you, Ms. Brooke.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
This is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. The untouchable community owes Black America reparations separately from the U.S. government. I would like to be at the negotiating table when we have the meeting with the untouchables to remind them of their Holocaust against Black America. Ain't that something? Ain't that something? You actually had a Holocaust against us. Woo! Ooh, oh, Lord. Oh, Lord. Oh, Lord. Let me snap the whipping post for that, brothers and sisters. Y'all actually had a Holocaust against Black people. And you have not been held accountable for the untouchable Holocaust against African people. And it is time for Black America to hold the untouchable community responsible for crimes against African humanity, from slavery to the music industry.
Okay, nobody wants to say this? I'm gonna say this. I don't owe Black people anything. Can we please understand that the people who owe debts of reparations are dead, and we're not supposed to be paying anything, especially because of a very particular reason. There's so many reasons why we shouldn't be paying any debts of reparations, but the most important one is we have way too many problems right now to be looking back in history to try and fix things that are not going to be fixed. Can we put all that energy to solve these problems, please? How much longer are we going to keep doing this? Focusing on problems from the past that are not going to be resolved, that are just causing more separation, more hate, instead of focusing in fixing our present, in trying to make a better future, because right now it's looking really ugly. I guess it'd be a good idea for all of us to just work hard to create a future where skin color doesn't really matter, right?
When white people in the United States balk at the idea of paying reparations to Black Americans who descended from slaves, they disagree with the Bible. To begin with, let's first define what reparations mean. Reparations are a form of compensation or restitution made to those who have suffered injustice, specifically in cases of racial inequality, discrimination, and slavery. The idea of paying reparations to Black Americans is not a new one. It has been a topic of discussion for decades, if not centuries. However, it has gained renewed attention and support in recent years. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. also advocated for reparations in the form of economic advancement for Black Americans. As a Christian, I believe that reparations are not only a matter of justice and equality, but also a reflection of God's character. In the Bible, we see numerous examples of God's concern for the oppressed, the marginalized, and the downtrodden. From the Israelites' liberation from slavery in Egypt to Jesus' ministry among the poor and the outcast, we see a consistent theme of God's love for those who are on the margins of society. One of the key biblical principles that underlie the idea of reparations is the concept of restitution. In the book of Leviticus, we see God commanding the Israelites to make restitution to those whom they have wronged. Leviticus chapter 6 says that if anyone sins and commits a breach of faith against the Lord by deceiving his neighbor in a matter of deposit or security or through robbery, or if he has oppressed his neighbor or found something lost and lied about it, swearing falsely, he shall restore it in full and shall add a fifth to it and give it to him to whom it belongs. This passage emphasizes the importance of making restitution to those who have been wronged, and not just restoring what has been taken, but adding to it as a form of compensation. This principle of restitution can be applied to the issue of reparations to Black Americans who have suffered centuries of enslavement, discrimination, and systemic oppression. Another biblical principle that supports the idea of reparations is the concept of Jubilee. In Leviticus chapter 25, God commands to the Israelites to observe a Jubilee. This was a radical idea of economic justice designed to prevent the accumulation of wealth and power in the hands of a few and to ensure that all members of society had equal access to resources and opportunities. The idea of Jubilee can be seen as a model for reparations in that it seeks to address the root causes of inequality and oppression rather than just treating the symptoms. By forgiving debts, freeing slaves, and returning property, Jubilee seeks to create a more just and equitable society, one in which everyone has the opportunity to flourish. As a Christian, I believe that paying reparations to Black Americans is not only a matter of justice and equity, but also a reflection of God's character and values. Through the biblical principles of restitution and Jubilee, we see a model for how we can address the historical and systemic injustices that have plagued our society for far too long. While the issue of reparations is complex and contentious, I believe that as Christians, we have a responsibility to seek justice.
Nah. See, this is taking Uncle Ruckus to a whole new level. North Carolina governor candidate Mark Robinson believes that Black people should be paying what? What?
We're talking about reparations in this country. They wanted reparations. And I remember I made this particular liberal so angry at me because I told them right to their face, nobody owes you anything for slavery. If you want to tell the truth about it, it is you who owes. It's you who owes. Why do you owe? Because somebody in those fields took stripes for you. Somebody after those fields were ended and slavery was ended, somebody had to walk through Jim Crow for you. Somebody fought wars and died for you. Somebody lived less than because they didn't have what you have, and they did it for you.
Hold on, before I even emphasize how ridiculous this is, reparations literally means to repair. Repair means to fix or mend something that has been broken or damaged. Reparations are meant to acknowledge and repair the causes and consequences of human rights violations and inequality in countries emerging from dictatorship, armed conflict, and political violence, as well as societies that's dealing with racial injustice and legacies of colonization. How is it possible that in the same sentence you identify that an injustice happened, slavery, Jim Crow, etc., but then say that the victims of that injustice deserve to pay the victimizers who perpetuated that same injustice and should be grateful that they are no longer perpetuating it? What? The racial wealth gap within America did not accidentally happen. This happened for a specific reason, and newsflash, the injustice is still happening. We need to pay back reparations with what? You forgot to mention that slavery thing that you just like to skip over left us poor and made a lot of folks filthy rich. From the Holocaust to Japanese internment camps, reparations has been done before. Stop acting like for other folks it was justified, but for black people it was some sort of handout. No, it's not. Like, I understand that Mark Robinson is pandering to his base, but at this point, it's like gratuitous violence. Like, no, you don't deserve reparations. In fact, you need to pay What? This man is the lieutenant governor. Is this what our people do when we get in positions of power? Like, whoa. Lastly, let me answer the nuanced question. Oh, he wasn't talking about literally paying money in reparations, but paying with school and... Man, get out of here. Mark's points come at the destruction of the black community. He's telling us to not ask for what we deserve. He's telling us to accept the crumbs in which we're given. He's telling us to kiss the feet of forefathers who enslaved us. This is crazy. How is black people ever going to get justice when our own people are saying we don't deserve it? Teach the people to reach the people.
So everybody keeps talking about Hurricane Milton, right? A lot of y'all, I need y'all to understand that this is spiritual. This is spiritual. This is our ancestors, people that look like me, the indigenous ones that are indigenous to this land. The reason why all of this is happening, because divine order needs to be restored amongst people that look like me. The people that originally the land was stolen from. So until divine order is stored and you stop playing with us and our ancestors, we will wipe this shit the fuck out. I'm telling you, our ancestors are not ones to play with. So you'll continue to see more hurricanes, stronger hurricanes, fires, natural disasters until divine order is stored amongst indigenous people of this land. Pay us our reparations.
Black folks, I just love it when they say that Ukraine needs money. They just need money because they're being oppressed by a much larger force. Interesting. Very nice, white America. I am so glad that you have grasped this concept that you need money to fight oppression. It's a fantastic concept that you now agree that you need firearms, like the Black Panthers and so many revolutionaries have been saying for the longest time, to fight against a far superior force. It's very interesting how you suddenly change the narrative when it comes to white Ukrainians. Just admit it, white America. You only care about them because they're white. That's the only reason why. You won't say that, right? But then in the same breath, you will ask black Americans who you know have been oppressed for centuries here. And you'll tell us, just wait. It's not about money. Why are you so selfish? You tell us that, meanwhile spending a fortune on a white country.
I 100% agree that the United States owes the black community reparations, and this is why. It's not about white people owing black people. It's not about white people being punished for the sins of our ancestors. In fact, it's quite the opposite. It's about white people standing in solidarity with a community that has suffered grave, egregious injustices at the hands of the United States government. But first, we must decenter ourselves in this conversation, alienate ourselves from our privilege, and hold the United States institutions and systems accountable for the wrongs that they never rectified. From slavery to black codes, to convict leasing, to Jim Crow segregation, to anti-black housing policies, to mass incarceration, we have never rectified our wrongs as a country. If you look at our criminal justice system, 1 in 3 black males carry convicted felon label. That is a real stat. Is it because they're inherently evil, or they just need more personal accountability, or is there something larger at play? All the data shows, by every statistical measure, the black community has been disproportionately impacted by every institution or system in the United States, from education to healthcare to criminal justice system to banking to housing, which we still have de jure segregation in effect today. And when it comes to housing, neither parties are absolved from this because both parties were responsible for the de jure segregation that we see today. The New Deal by Franklin Roosevelt didn't invent the segregationist practice of housing, but it did institutionalize it. Restricting access to capital for black families while enriching white families, the big reason why we see the generational wealth gap we see today. And remember, public housing wasn't initially for poor people, it was for working class white families. But because of laws and policies implemented by the United States government, it reinforced segregation because public housing was to reflect the racial composition of the existing neighborhood. And we had redlining and gentrification of neighborhoods, the residual effects of all these policies that we still see today. Reparations is about rebuilding and investing in the black community. Our government was held accountable to some extent for the grave injustices that we committed, the atrocities that we committed against Native Americans. We were also held accountable for the Japanese internment camps. But the United States government never made good on its 40 acres and a mule to the black community. Everybody else got paid. The United States was held accountable for these injustices. I'm a convicted felon. I had to pay a debt to society, to the United States government, to the state of Florida for the crimes that I committed. I was held accountable. To this day, my past is still being used against me. In fact, if I were to go before a judge today, the first thing he would do is bring up my past and say it's probably a pretty good indicator of what my future will be. But we don't keep that same energy for our government. We don't hold them to the same level of accountability and to the same level of scrutiny. So if you're thinking to yourself, I don't know anybody, you're absolutely right. But our government does. And as citizens of the United States who uphold the Constitution, it is our duty, it is our responsibility to hold our government accountable. As taxpayers, as citizens of the United States, we all pay, not just white people. Anytime there's an injustice in the United States by a government agency, whether it's the police department, sheriff's department, any government agency, the taxpayers are always the ones that foot the bill. Why? Because in America, we believe in justice, or at least we say we do. No matter what side of the aisle you're on, I'm sure we can all agree that our government is corrupt. Stop allowing them to make us turn on each other. What better way to stand in solidarity with our brothers and sisters than to advocate to make right what has been wrong and never been rectified? People ask me all the time, what are my solutions to the problems that I speak on? Well, I can assure you that this would be a step in the right direction. This is the pathway forward. Reparations in America today.
All black inventions return to us permanently. And if you want to use it, you must pay us a percentage. The cell phone, we invented that. Internet, that's ours. Helicopter, that's ours. So guess what? Anybody running lights, you paying black people. We had hundreds of thousands of acres of land stolen from us. We need to put together a research team that's going to investigate all the land that was stolen from African people and return it back. America has about 10 major exports. Gold, oil. We get a 25% cut permanently. Every time America makes a dollar, we get 25 cents of that dollar as part of the reparations payment. And 60% of us make up 10 states. All 10 of the states are seaboarding states. We shall automatically control the port. Psychological damages. Every time you see a black man with a white woman, that's psychological damage. Every time you see a black woman with a blind wig on her head, that's psychological damage. Every time you see a little black boy or girl playing with a white doll instead of a black doll, that's psychological damage.
It wouldn't take anything. Just like Umar said in that video, they can just put people to be in charge of these things. Get them what is meant to them. See, there is something about life. We can't know it all, right? And I believe in karma a lot. I believe in karma. I'll keep repeating on these things. The more these people are not paid, more dangers are going to come in future. To be honest, those things are the consequences. Look at what's happening right now. Do you see the whole floodings and all of that? A lot of things. What does it take to pay these people their money? Why are they not being paid? For me, I feel they feel, oh, these people can't do anything. And the fact that they're not paying them and these people are still suffering. Okay, even if you're not going to pay them, why are the communities underdeveloped? Their schools are nothing to write home about. Why don't you create job opportunities for them? Make everything easy for them. You'll find black Americans working in a company with white people, and they have the same skill, but they are being paid less, which is not fair. You cannot build this country on people's blood and expect it not to have consequences. You must pay these people their reparations, or else It doesn't matter who you're going to go and bring. It doesn't matter who. These people are even very patient. They're not even causing violence. Some people will decide that country will never have peace. They'll attack the government. It doesn't matter. You can bring all your weapons and destroy them, but they'll make sure they destroy the country as well. But these people have been quiet, asking for their reparations. Pay them their reparations, or else. I'm not threatening anybody. I'm just talking based on what happens, right? Based on nature, based on the way things are right now. Those people need to be paid. And we just hope these people get to pay them very soon and settle all of these things. Or what do you think? Let me see it in the comments. Right? Let me see what you're saying about this reparation issue in the comment section. Do not forget to share, subscribe, and like this video. Comment as well, right? It's me, Global Gist with BJ. My name is Blessing. I will see you on the next one. Bye, guys.